Hey there, fellow wisdom seekers. I'm Alex, and today I want to talk about something I've personally struggled with for years: the hidden pitfalls of being too generous. Have you ever found yourself drained after helping someone? That crushing feeling when you've given everything you've got only to receive nothing in return? I remember when I spent months helping a friend launch their business, sacrificing my own projects only to have them disappear once they got what they needed. The disappointment was devastating. This is exactly where Stoicism can be our guide. Take Marcus Aurelius. This guy was literally running the Roman Empire, yet he managed to maintain inner peace through self-discipline and boundaries. If he could do it while managing an empire, we can certainly apply these principles to our everyday relationships. In this video, I'll share 7 powerful Stoic precepts that have transformed how I approach generosity. You'll learn how to be kind without being taken advantage of, how to help others without burning yourself out, and most importantly, how to prioritize your own well-being without feeling guilty. The final precept is a game changer I wish I'd learned years ago. It will show you exactly how to establish unshakable personal boundaries that protect your energy and strengthen your autonomy. This single principle has completely transformed my relationships and saved me countless hours of emotional turmoil. If you're ready to discover how these ancient teachings can revolutionize your approach to generosity, hit that like button and subscribe. Let's dive in and explore how to balance compassion with self-preservation. Have you ever done something nice for someone and found yourself secretly hoping they'd acknowledge it or return the favor? I know I have. Last year, I spent weeks helping my neighbor move and organize her new place, expecting at least a thank you dinner. When it never came, I felt resentful for months. This is where Seneca's wisdom hits home. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. The Stoics teach us to see things as they truly are, not as we wish them to be. When we perform acts of kindness with hidden expectations, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. Clenthus put it perfectly. The great rule of life is to accept what life brings us. This has become my personal mantra whenever I catch myself creating expectations. Here's my challenge to you. The next time you help someone, pause and ask yourself, why am I really doing this? Am I expecting something in return? This simple moment of self-awareness can free you from the disappointment cycle. Remember, you can control your generosity, but you cannot control how others respond to it. I've found that when I give without expectation, the act itself becomes more fulfilling, regardless of the response. Does this sound familiar? You've said yes to so many requests that you're running on empty, yet you still feel guilty saying no to anyone. This was me 3 years ago before I discovered the Stoic approach to balanced giving. The Stoics were masters of moderation. They understood that excessive generosity doesn't just drain us, it creates unhealthy dynamics where others become dependent on our help. As Epictetus advised, we should wish for things to happen not as we want them to, but as they do happen. I learned this lesson the hard way when I became the go-to person for everyone's problems at work. Soon, my colleagues stopped trying to solve issues themselves and came straight to me. My productivity plummeted, and I resented the very people I wanted to help. Marcus Aurelius offers practical guidance here. Focus your attention on actions proportional to their importance. Not every request deserves your immediate attention or resources. Try this approach that worked for me. Before agreeing to help, ask yourself, can I provide this assistance without feeling drained or resentful afterward? If the answer is no, it's time to recalibrate your response. Maybe you can offer limited help, suggest an alternative, or simply decline with grace. I used to think putting myself first was selfish, then burnout hit me like a truck. After helping everyone else with their projects, I had nothing left for my own goals and dreams. My health suffered, my relationships became strained, and ironically, I became less helpful to others because I had depleted my own resources. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that very little is needed to live a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. This perspective shift was revolutionary for me, realizing that maintaining my well-being wasn't selfish, it was necessary. Musonius Rufus said it beautifully, "What is good for the bee is good for the hive." When we take care of ourselves, we're actually in a better position to help our community. Here's what transformed my approach. I started treating my energy like a finite resource that needed careful management. I began blocking off time for self-care, rest, and pursuing my own goals before committing to helping others. The result? I became more effective in my assistance and felt genuinely happy to help rather than obligated. This doesn't mean becoming self-centered. It means recognizing that your needs deserve equal consideration. By preserving your well-being, you ensure you have the strength to be there for others in a sustainable way. Have you noticed how some people seem to target the most generous individuals with endless requests? I certainly experienced this in my professional life, where my willingness to help quickly became seen not as strength, but as an exploitable resource. Seneca warns us about this trap. In learning to be useful to others, we must be careful not to harm ourselves. When we fail to establish boundaries, our kindness isn't respected, it's expected and often taken for granted. I remember when a colleague would regularly dump her unfinished work on my desk just before leaving. At first, I thought helping showed team spirit, but soon realized she viewed my assistance not as generosity, but as weakness she could exploit. The turning point came when I finally stood firm and politely but clearly declined to take on her responsibilities. Epictetus teaches that our first duty is to ourselves, and we can only truly help others if we remain strong. This doesn't mean becoming cold or uncaring. It means communicating our boundaries openly and respectfully. My practical tip: the next time someone makes a request that crosses your boundaries, try saying, "I understand this is important to you, and while I want to support you, I need to decline because honest reason." I've found that most reasonable people respect clear boundaries, and those who don't probably aren't worth depleting your energy for anyway. One of my most painful lessons came from a friendship where I constantly gave emotional support, advice, and practical help, while receiving nothing in return. Every conversation centered on their problems, and my own challenges were dismissed or ignored. For 2 years, I justified this imbalance by telling myself that's what good friends do. Marcus Aurelius offers profound guidance here. The man who respects himself is also respected by others. When we allow relationships to remain persistently one-sided, we signal that we don't value our own time and energy. These unbalanced connections don't just drain us. They actively prevent us from forming healthy relationships based on mutual respect and reciprocity. As Epictetus suggests, we should practice selective indifference, not getting overly invested in the needs of those who show no interest in our well-being. My turning point came when I made a simple list. In one column, I wrote down all I had given to this friendship. In the other, what I had received. The stark imbalance made it impossible to ignore the exploitation I had permitted. I encourage you to try this exercise with your own relationships. For those that show significant imbalance, consider having an honest conversation about your needs. If nothing changes, it may be time to redirect your energy toward more reciprocal connections. Remember, reducing contact with those who consistently take without giving isn't selfish. It's essential self-preservation. Have you ever noticed that certain people seem drawn to your generosity like moths to a flame? I certainly have. After developing a reputation as someone who never says no, I found myself surrounded by people who were experts at taking but novices at giving back. Marcus Aurelius wisely advises being strategic about whom we help. Not everyone deserves equal access to our time and energy. The challenge is identifying these exploiters before they drain us dry. In my experience, exploiters share common traits. They appear only when they need something. Their emergencies become your priorities, and your problems mysteriously never seem important enough for their attention. I learned this pattern with a colleague who would dramatically seek my help with urgent deadlines, but was mysteriously unavailable whenever I needed support. Epictetus teaches that our kindness should be measured not by our capacity to give, but by the genuine needs of the recipient and the nature of our relationship with them. This requires careful discernment about who truly deserves our help. Here's a practical strategy I've developed. Before committing significant time or energy to someone, observe if they show gratitude for small favors, respect your boundaries, and offer help when you need it. These early interactions reveal volumes about how they'll treat your generosity in the future. By becoming more selective about who benefits from your kindness, you protect your well-being while ensuring your generosity reaches those who truly appreciate and reciprocate it. Precept 7. Establishing personal boundaries. This final precept has been the most transformative in my life. Learning to say no without guilt has protected me from what I call energy vampires, those who constantly take without contributing anything positive to your life. I remember the anxiety I felt the first time I declined a request from a friend who regularly asked for favors, but was never available when I needed help. My heart raced as I politely explained that I couldn't help this time. To my surprise, the world didn't end. In fact, our relationship actually improved once clear boundaries were established. Marcus Aurelius emphasizes that setting boundaries is essential for maintaining inner peace and effectiveness. Without them, we become reactive to everyone else's priorities while neglecting our own. Epictetus tells us that true freedom begins with self-mastery, including mastering the ability to refuse. This isn't about becoming unavailable or uncaring, it's about being intentional with your generosity. Here's my practical approach. Create a personal policy for the types of requests you'll accept and under what conditions. For example, I'm happy to help with emergency situations, but for non-urgent matters, I need at least 2 days' notice. Having pre-established guidelines makes it easier to respond to requests without getting caught in the guilt trap. Remember, saying no to someone else often means saying yes to yourself, to your well-being, your priorities, and ultimately to your ability to help those who truly deserve your generosity. We've explored 7 powerful Stoic precepts that have completely transformed my approach to generosity. From recognizing our hidden expectations to establishing firm boundaries, each of these principles offers a pathway to more balanced giving. These aren't just philosophical concepts. They're practical tools that have helped me build healthier relationships, protect my energy, and actually enjoy being generous again rather than feeling resentful or exploited. I've gone from being constantly drained by one-sided relationships to cultivating connections based on mutual respect and reciprocity. The difference in my mental well-being has been profound. If you've ever felt taken advantage of because of your kindness, I hope these Stoic teachings provide the framework you need to recalibrate your approach to generosity. If you found value in these ancient but timeless principles, please hit that like button and subscribe to join me on this journey of practical wisdom. Share this video with someone who might be struggling with the balance between kindness and self-preservation. What's your experience with balancing generosity and boundaries? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, remember what Marcus Aurelius taught us. True generosity flows from strength, not from depletion. Take care of yourself first, and you'll have so much more to genuinely offer others. What do you think about these Stoic principles? Have you ever struggled with balancing generosity and self-preservation, or found yourself feeling drained by giving too much? Which of these precepts resonated most with you, and how do you see them fitting into your daily life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Philosopher's Keystone for more wisdom from history's greatest minds and practical tips to transform your life.